Hi guys, dan selamat kembali ke Studio Sembang bersama saya Amy. In the studio this week, we have a legendary star, the one and only Afgan. Hi!
Hi!
Hello!
Hello!
Selamat datang ke Studio Sembang.
Hi! Thanks for having me.
Thank you so
It's
much for
nice
being
meeting
here. Likewise. I'm sure ramai di luar sana macam mungkin akan rasa terkejut yang Afgan boleh sampai dekat sini juga.
Ya, saya pun senang dan this is a cozy spot to have a conversation, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you think so.
Enak.
Yeah. Saya tak sabar sebab saya dah buat, saya rasa macam seminggu research dan kupas semua
Research
cerita.
banyak loh kamu.
Ya, okay.
Ya, banyak. Aku juga shock. Aku juga gak tahu beberapa hal yang kamu aku udah lupa. Kamu ingat, oh iya pernah ya.
Mungkin sebab saya rasa macam selepas seorang dah bekerja ataupun berseni untuk 17 tahun, hampir 2 dekad, it's saya anggap dia sebagai satu cabaran untuk cuba mencari satu sudut lain yang mungkin orang tak pernah dapat tahu lagi pasal Afgan.
Ya,
So kita tengoklah sama ada saya berjaya ke tidak ya
semuanya
hari.
banyak sekali kamu tadi udah research kamu bilang ke aku.
Okay, bagus.
So, kita banyak hal yang bisa kita obrolin.
Cantik. Tapi macam biasa kita akan mulakan dengan soalan yang sama, which is, how was your childhood?
My childhood.
Yes.
Selalu mulai dari childhood ya kalau kamu ya.
Ya, selalu akan start dekat sini.
Childhood aku kayaknya quite normal. Cuman apa ya, aku anak yang pemalu. Tadinya aku bertiga, kakakku, my sister, and then me, and then my younger sister. So I was the only boy. And then 14 years later lahirlah adikku yang cowok. Jadi kita 4 bersaudara. It was quite normal, but my parents, they both are doctors, so they was really busy waktu saya kecil. Jadi we just mostly me and my sisters. But I think the reason why I fell in love with music was because mama saya, ibu saya, she always play music in the house and in the car. Waktu misalnya dia lagi pick up saya di sekolah, dia selalu datang mobilnya tuh dari luar tuh udah kedengeran ada musik gitu. Dia suka banget dengerin musik di mobil dan di rumah. Dan that's how I fell in love with music because of her gitu. Dan dari kecil saya juga memang selalu interestnya tuh selalu berhubungan dengan musik gitu. Misalnya Afgan mau beli apa gitu, aku selalu bilang mau beli kaset. Dulu kan kaset ya.
Yeah.
Can I buy a cassette or a CD gitu. Jadi semuanya selalu berhubungan dengan musik. So dari kecil memang saya sudah bermimpi pengen one day mau jadi penyanyi gitu.
Oh?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even though saya sangat pemalu, saya nggak pernah ikutan kontes or competition gitu ya, nggak pernah. Jadi my dream, I just kept it to myself. Even my family didn't know that I wanted to be a singer. It's because I was shy. I'm a shy kid. So yeah, my childhood was pretty normal. Normal, yeah.
Apa di antara mungkin references music yang pertama yang Afgan ingat mungkin dulu semasa your mom would pick you up in the car and stuff? What was the first artis-artis ataupun lagu-lagu yang mencipta your love for music?
Yeah, my mom loves black singers. Jadi dia suka penyanyi yang soulful gitu nyanyinya. Jadi she always listens to Stevie Wonder, Whitney Houston,
Classics.
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
Fantastic.
She loves all of that stuff. Jadi memang dari kecil aku udah influenced by those kind of music, those kind of style of singing gitu. Makanya sekarang aku memang lebih yang sudah ada di DNA ku sebagai penyanyi ya memang R&B gitu.
Yeah.
Karena dari kecil that's what my mom loves when I was a kid, loves to hear. Yeah, gitu sih.
Okay, so itu yang menanam impian untuk jadi seorang penyanyi. Tapi from what you shared dengan your parents ke, dengan your friends ke, because your parents are both doctors.
Doctors, yeah.
So was there ever macam any pressure to pursue a career outside of music yang mungkin dianggap sebagai lebih stable or lebih traditional?
Traditional, lebih aman ya.
Karena
kan gak ada yang tahu waktu itu kan. Maksudnya kayak di keluarga aku gak ada sama sekali yang pursue music
as
a profession.
Oh.
Gak ada.
Wow.
Jadi semuanya ya either doctors atau in business or accounting, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Jadi gak ada tuh yang jadi penyanyi gitu kan. But the funny thing is from my mom's side, they're very musical gitu. Jadi kakek saya, my mom's dad, he plays saxophone, and my mom apparently she used to have, like, she released an album when she was a teenager.
That's cool.
Yeah. Jadi aku baru tahu kayak and from my mom's side of the family mostly bisa nyanyi gitu. Bisa nyanyi, bisa main instrumen, bisa main piano dan lain-lain gitu. Jadi memang I think I got that musical talent from my mom's side of the family gitu.
Faham.
Yeah. Jadi anyways, to answer your question, mereka memang awalnya supportive aja sih. Cuman satu syaratnya adalah saya tetap harus finish education gitu. You can pursue music, but also you have to finish your university gitu. Jadi aku ya udah waktu itu aku jalanin dua-duanya. I study here.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Tapi itu macam selepas you dah start menceburi bidang muzik. Tapi sebelum itu lagi, sebelum pernah ada album pertama, ada satu cerita ni yang mungkin ramai di luar sana tak tahu pasal Indonesian Idol musim keempat. So yang ni pun saya confused juga sebab kalau tak silap around that time you were doing economics, a diploma. Tapi pada masa yang sama Afgan pernah masuk Indonesian Idol and then hampir nak masuk top 100 tapi you tak pergi. What's the story? Can you tell us?
Iya, jadi waktu itu I was still in high school, and then my friend was like, let's do Indonesian Idol, ada audition, ayo kita pergi. Yaudah, and then aku pergi, I got accepted for the top 100. So before the top 100, the audition was just in a small room like this. Gak ada judges gitu, only the producers and stuff like that. Jadi it was not really I was nervous, but it was not that bad lah gitu.
Yeah.
When I was about to enter the room with cameras and with the real judges, the big stars that I've always idolized, saya langsung kayak waktu mau masuk ruangan it just froze. It's like everything froze. Like I was scared. I was scared because I was so nervous. And then I just told the producers, saya bilang, saya mau ke toilet dulu ya, boleh nggak? And then I just ran away.
No.
I ran away, and then I took a taxi, and then I went. I didn't think I went home. I went to a concert after that.
Boleh juga pergi concert. Did anyone know? Like, did your parents know? Kawan-kawan tahu ke?
Yeah, ada. My mom knows.
Did she ask? Like, apa jadi?
Before I took off, I called her. I said, Mom, I cannot do it. Aku gak bisa. Aku nervous banget. Aku mau pulang.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay lah, it's okay if you're too nervous. And then I went to a concert. I saw Muse that night.
Oh my God, good choice.
Yes.
Good
I was
choice.
like, okay, I cannot miss this concert. So I went. Saya pergi nonton Muse. And then in the middle of the concert, the producers of the TV station was calling me, where are you? We are looking for you. And they were like kind of like upset and angry. They said like, okay, you're gonna get banned forever from this station.
Oh, that's scary.
But alhamdulillah nggak jadi ya. Sampai sekarang saya masih perform di station itu. Jadi, but at that time I was like, gimana ya? I don't think I could handle the exposure at that time. So I feel like it was not meant for me. So I just let it go. So yeah, saya berpikir waktu itu kalau misalnya memang jalan saya di musik pasti nanti Allah atau ya kasih saya jalan tuh. And then another opportunity came waktu saya high school. I think it was a couple months after I went to a studio, Wannabe namanya. It's like a karaoke, but kamu bisa record kamu nyanyi dan they give you a CD. So you can make your own album gitu. And it's since itu nyanyinya di dalam booth, so nobody's watching, I can just like nyanyi aja, nggak malu, nggak ada yang lihat gitu kan. And then I didn't know that they were playing it in the speaker outside gitu. Mereka
Karaoke apa ni?
Yeah.
Oi, seram.
Seram ya?
I cannot imagine. Like contohnya kalau saya pergi karaoke, lepas tu saya menyanyi, lepas tu benda tu ada kat speaker kat luar, saya rasa saya akan lari juga.
Iya, biasanya sih nggak ada karena
Kan?
aku kalau lihat orang-orang masuk kan, oh ini mereka cuma pakai headphones, yang
Yeah.
operate juga pakai headphones gitu. Jadi aku pikir oh ya nggak ada yang dengar juga nih, jadi saya nggak usah nervous. Tapi waktu saya masuk langsung di play di loudspeaker di luar, and then yang punya owner tempatnya ya dengar gitu, dia kayak siapa ini gitu. Ada ini anak sekolah, anak high school gitu. And then that's how I got offered my first record deal itu di situ,
Yeah.
di studio itu. So after that they were kind of like approach me, "Hai, oke, mau bikin album gak? Kita lagi mau buat label ini gitu. We want you to be our first artist gitu, yang kita produce." I was like, what? I was still in my high school uniform. Was kind of shocked, but itu adalah cita-cita saya dari kecil, impian saya dari kecil. So I was like, even though I was shocked and I didn't know if I was mentally able to do it at that time, but I was just like, yes, I want to do it. So I just said yes immediately, and then we started recording.
And the rest is history.
Terima Kasih Cinta, stuff like that.
Yeah.
My first album.
And there's actually a pelajaran pasal rezeki in your story juga.
Ya,
kan?
rezeki itu tidak tertukar.
Yes, ataupun tak pernah salah
Tak
alamat
pernah salah
kan.
alamat,
Boleh
benar.
lari macam mana pun, kalau ditakdirkan untuk jadi penyanyi, dia akan jadi juga.
Ya, di cara yang kita tidak expect gitu.
Betul.
Ya, jadi itu Masya Allah sih,
Yeah.
luar biasa.
Tapi sebenarnya when you think back, do you ever think like what would have happened kalau you tak larikan diri daripada Indonesian Idol tu?
Nah,
Mungkin
it's
dia
gonna
akan
be
bawa
different.
Yeah,
It's
totally,
gonna be
right?
different. So this is like divine order gitu loh, sudah diatur.
Yeah.
Jadi saya yang sampai sekarang mungkin yang paling saya mengena adalah ya itu, we don't have to really worry about stuff karena semuanya memang sudah diatur. What's meant for us will
Find
come.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, kayak gitu.
I agree juga. So sebagai seorang budak yang mungkin agak pemalu pada ketika itu, you got your first record deal from this karaoke experience, which is, itu kalau bukan cerita pasal rezeki, I don't know what that is lah.
I don't know.
Right? That was meant
You can't
for you.
explain it.
Cannot explain
Yeah,
it. So you got your first record deal, and you started working on your first album. So how did that work in music? Do you immediately start working on an album ke? Tak ada ke perbincangan pasal keluarkan single? What was the idea ataupun plan pada ketika itu, and how much were you allowed to
Involved
in the plan?
Jadi waktu itu kan masih physical album was still selling.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, nggak ada single, langsung bikin album aja gitu. And pada saat itu saya nggak terlalu involved di dalam penulisan albumnya gitu, because I didn't know anything about songwriting. I didn't know anything about recording. So I was just learning. Saya aja melihat, and then they kind of like present me some songs. Terima Kasih Cinta, and then there's a lot of songs, and I was like, okay, ini boleh, and then I just did it with their guidance, because they're more experienced than me at that time. I mean, I was talking about the producers yang involved di album ini. So I was just happy that I get to sing. That's it. I didn't expect anything. Aku nggak expect it's gonna be a big or anything sama sekali. Jadi saya cuman kayak, oh, it's fun ya, saya bisa ada di studio rekaman, recording. Sometimes I just don't believe it. I didn't believe it at that time that it was happening. So this is ada fun fact juga sih. Awalnya saya nggak mau nyanyi Terima Kasih Cinta. Awalnya. Nah,
Kenapa?
this is something that I've never shared before di mana-mana. Karena
Yeah, because that's a crazy statement. Can you imagine how different it would have been?
Yeah.
So okay, can you explain
I'm
why?
glad that I listened to them.
Yeah, kenapa?
No, because at that time I was, seperti saya bilang, I was leaning towards R&B and soul music. So I never expected to sing pop music at that time. So buat saya waktu itu, this is so pop, ini pop banget gitu. Kayaknya saya, ini kayak bukan aku deh gitu. But the label really was kind of like pushing, okay, ini harus lagu ini, harus lagu ini. And then I got sick. I was hospitalized because I was too stressed. Pasal lagu itu, karena awalnya saya nggak mau sebenarnya nyanyi lagu ini gitu.
Yeah.
And then ya udah, I was hospitalized, and then it was like
Oh
drama
my
lah.
god, this is a drama.
Yeah, saya sampai rambut saya rontok lah because I was stressed out. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was. But kalau saya bicara sekarang, I can laugh about it now ya.
Yeah.
Pada saat itu cuman saya, I was confused. Okay, ini gimana ya? But and then my mom said, it's okay, just do it. It's a good song, she said, and it's okay. You can do pop. You can. I mean, what's the most important is how you deliver the song. My mom said, and then ya udahlah, saya ikuti, and then it became the first single, and then boom, it was viral lah.
Yeah,
Pada
like
saat
a
itu
huge hit.
nggak ada sosmed ya, nggak ada
Yeah.
media sosial, but it went just
Yeah.
like that. It was crazy.
And led to so many awards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, are you seorang yang you put a lot of pressure on yourself? Are you a perfectionist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too much pressure sometimes. Yeah.
Sebab saya rasa macam untuk like sampai you boleh ada macam rambut gugur, masuk hospital. Like you took this album seriously. Kan? Apa sebenarnya macam punca itu? Especially for the first album. Was it because you wanted it to, or you just wanted it to be you? Like apa konflik pada pertama sekali of your career?
Kayaknya pada saat itu I just wanted to be me gitu. Kayak the music that I grew up listening to kan kayak tadi ya, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
All the black soulful singers, and then I like jazz. At that time I really wanted to do something more jazzy. And then ya udah, it didn't happen. They want me to do pop ballads. So it was, there's inilah kayak perdebatan batin lah pada saat itu. Saya ngerasa kurang cocok. But yeah, thank God I listened, because that song Terima Kasih Cinta, it opens doors banyak sekali.
Yeah.
Saya mulai bisa dikenal, punya fan base di Malaysia juga karena lagu itu.
Yeah.
Sampai sekarang pun setiap saya nyanyi di mana-mana selalu harus nyanyi lagu itu. Orang nggak bisa move on dari lagu itu. So right now I can embrace that song. I was like, okay, lagu ini memang people love it, so I will do it forever.
Yeah.
I will perform this song until I die, I guess.
Lagu tu dah jadi sebahagian daripada your story.
Yeah.
Dan oleh sebab itu dia jadi istimewa juga, walaupun dia mungkin pada ketika itu tak seberapa dekat dengan jiwa kan.
Ya mungkin itu juga yang bagus adalah pada saat itu kita tidak tahu hal yang bagus buat kita gitu. Sometimes we know what's good for us, but we didn't know the bigger plan. So I think that song represents that. You know, the bigger plan is something that you cannot even imagine.
Yeah, of course.
So just trust the process. Yeah.
So you trusted the process, then dia jadi satu fenomena lah cerita dia. What was your, okay, firstly, how do you know as a musician, so I'm not one, right? How do you, what is the moment yang you know this album ataupun single ini is a hit? How do you know? Is it because you hear it on the radio? Is it because, okay, the label calls and they're like, oh, kita dah capai berapa sales? Apa saat itu? And for you specifically to your first album, what was the moment for you?
Then I realized it was big.
Yeah.
It was on the radio all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then kalau saya jalan and people started to recognize me.
Yeah.
Itu saya, di situ momen saya tahu, oh, okay, this is
Made it.
bigger than I expected. Tapi pada saat itu berat lah untuk saya karena I'm still a shy person. Can you imagine back then I was extremely shy.
Yeah.
And I have low self-confidence. And I didn't have training. Mungkin kalau di K-pop ada training ya, yang kamu di-train dulu 4 tahun sebelum rilis album. Pada saat itu kan you have to learn by doing gitu. Jadi buat saya waktu itu is very susah lah, struggling ya waktu itu. Karena you have to adapt dari your normal life tiba-tiba it became public, everything, people see you, stuff like that. No privacy. And I was still a student at that time. Saya masih di university juga di Jakarta, so ya banyak yang harus di-adjust gitu pada saat itu. And I was still so young, so adalah pasti plus and minusnya gitu.
Do you still feel that way now? Kind of like macam ada perpisahan di antara like the you and then there's the like you that is the artist, or do you feel like macam selepas hampir 2 decades it's coming together more and more?
I feel like I can compartmentalize, so I know when I'm working, alright, this is Afghan. But when I'm not working, I'm with my friends and family. It's not the Afghan that, you know. I can compartmentalize. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I cannot explain it, but sometimes when I'm on stage, I feel like kayak semacam alter ego gitu loh.
Yeah.
Kayak I became seseorang yang berbeda gitu.
Yeah.
But that person is only shows up on stage. Yeah, kayak gitu.
Yeah. Do you know, it's so crazy kan, sebab saya rasa macam dalam position saya sebagai seorang interviewer, right? I get to talk to a lot of really incredible artists, and yang sangat menarik is that sometimes like the most incredible artists of them all sebenarnya are like very introverted people, sebab diorang, and a lot of the times, why, right? Why is this? For people who have the biggest audiences ever, they're very, very self-aware and kadang-kadang like very self-critical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because of it's, and that's the superpower, right? Because you're so self-critical, karya you boleh jadi karya yang dekat dengan sempurna, as close as you can make it.
Inshallah.
Yeah, but that's like, it's a very interesting thing that I noticed over time. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly ya pasti sangat critical terhadap diri sendiri ya. I think some of the great singers and musicians that I know, they're very critical towards themselves. But not in a toxic way ya.
Yeah.
But we have to really, I like to pay attention to every details that's going on musically. I'm quite OCD.
Okay, so selepas your first album, was the success like a huge, did it feel really positive to you? I'm sure. Tapi pada masa yang sama, kadang-kadang bila kita punya karya pertama tu dapat sambutan yang luar biasa, bila seorang tengah macam bersedia untuk keluarkan karya kedua, dia akan jadi pressure juga untuk alamak sekarang saya nak kena keluarkan album kedua ataupun EP ke apa ke yang sampai dengan level yang saya dah tetapkan. Did you feel that way?
No, at that time I was just like,
No.
Okay, let's do it again.
Okay,
gitu
perfect.
Kan. Tapi pada saat itu saya belum I haven't learned anything about songwriting. So I have songwriters to write songs for me, which is really beautiful songs. And I'm so grateful that I get to be the one who sings them sampai sekarang. So album kedua, there's Panah Asmara, and then Bukan Cinta Biasa, and then Bawalah Cintaku. All these songs yang sampai sekarang masih sangat dicintai oleh banyak orang yang gitu. Dan pada saat itu ya, I was just going through the motions lah, going with the flow, everything. Album kedua mungkin saya udah mulai bisa adjust dengan my new life as a singer. I was doing so many shows, and then at the same time have to do my university and finish my, ibaratnya itu adalah kewajiban untuk orang tua saya, because that's the syarat lah kalau dari mereka.
Yeah.
So that album was everlasting sampai sekarang ya, the one itu sampai sekarang. Yeah.
So in between the one and Live to Love, Love to Live, Afghan, you took a break untuk belajar balik. Was it during these two kind of albums?
Yeah, it was. It was during those
Macam
two albums.
Pada pertengahan,
Jadi
right?
tapi sebenarnya nggak hiatus juga, nggak take a break juga. Saya I go back and forth. Jadi saya from Monday to Friday I'll be in Malaysia. Saya dulu study di Subang Jaya.
I know, that's crazy, yeah.
Di Monash SS16 y'all.
So kenapa saya fikir, so I thought that you met Syama Aina there. I was like, mesti diorang belajar sekali.
Dia di mana memang ya sekolahnya dulu? Dia kuliah di mana?
I don't think she went there, but I thought that you probably would have met in school ke.
At that time, even though Terima Kasih Cinta was a hit, everything, but saya di Malaysia masih, people still nggak tahu ini siapa ya gitu. Ini Afgan atau bukan ya? Jadi masih belum terlalu familiar dengan saya, so I get to go around to places dengan just like a normal kid aja, student gitu. Tapi dulu saya nggak berhenti di musik juga, saya go back and forth. Jadi Senin sampai Jumat saya di sini, and then Jumat sore afternoon I fly out to Jakarta, and then malamnya do a show. Jumat, Sabtu, Minggu show di Indonesia. And then Senin pagi balik lagi ke Malaysia. Kayak gitu.
Why? Right? Like bukan kenapa seorang akan pilih untuk belajar tak, tapi kenapa pilih dekat Malaysia? At least sekurang-kurangnya kalau you belajar dekat Jakarta, it would have eased your traveling kan?
Sih, karena saya waktu itu di Monash College in di Jakarta, and then the option was either to go to Australia or Malaysia, because Malaysia ada Monash kan. So I thought Malaysia aja lah lebih dekat, so I can go back and forth. I can still have maintain my music career, and then I can also do, so I can do both lah. So I don't have to leave karena kan ini university it takes a while kan, bisa 3 tahun gitu. So at that time I chose to do both, and I made it. I did it. I finished sekolah, saya selesai study while I was recording my next album. But at that time kan I was still 22, 23. Jadi gak capek waktu itu. I didn't feel tired at all.
That's crazy.
Now I cannot do it. Not at this age, nah. There's no way I can do it. Gak mungkin.
Okay, would you, like when you look back at it, do you ever like regret it or anything? No. Macam dari segi macam peluang yang mungkin you tak dapat ambil sebabkan pelajaran ataupun masa ataupun tak cukup tidur ke? Tak.
No, I didn't regret anything. I actually enjoyed doing both.
Yeah.
So I can just do shows and music in the weekend, and I can just go back to my student life with my friends. So it was fun at that time.
You're kind of crazy and out of the box, because saya rasa untuk buat satu pun dah cukup susah. Untuk jadi seorang penyanyi dah cukup susah, apalagi untuk dapat degree cukup susah. Buat dua-dua sekali tu adalah wow. Kalau you dapat capai benda tu, hebat sekali.
Yeah, alhamdulillah sih saya. I was kind of proud that I
awesome.
did both.
Yeah.
So I didn't regret. Untung aja saya nggak tinggalkan musik ya.
Yeah.
Karena mungkin kalau saya tinggalkan 3 tahun, untuk saya balik lagi mungkin biasanya lebih malas atau kayak maybe it's not for me atau gimana. Tapi untung saya nggak lakukan itu. Untung saya pilih tetap bermusik dan sekolah gitu at the same time.
Do you think that macam untuk orang kat luar sana yang mungkin nak ceburi bidang entertainment, apalagi zaman sekarang 2025 di mana macam kita semua ada akses kepada social media, do you think that untuk dapatkan satu degree itu masih lagi sesuatu yang sangat penting?
It depends on the person ya. Karena at that bukan sesuatu yang harus sih, but if you feel like it's a priority, then I think you should do both. At that time, honestly, I just did it for my parents because they was kind of like, they really wanted their son to, be a university graduate. So I did it for them. But after, I finished my studies, I feel like I took a lot from that. I mean, like, saya banyak belajar dari pengalaman saya di university gitu, that I can apply to my work gitu. Jadi ya menurut saya sih it depends. Bukannya keharusan ya, tapi ya kalau sekarang sih kayaknya I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. It's hard to say because, okay, the reason I say it's awesome and that I can really understand is that kita ada banyak persamaan dari segi macam my family is a medical family as well.
Oh,
Saya
yeah?
seorang je masuk. Yes.
Doctors?
Yeah. My mom is a dentist. The rest of my family are doctors. My dad's an architect. Tapi
okay.
diorang semua basically jobs yang boring lah.
Yeah.
Jadi saya lah anak pertama yang gila yang masuk dalam bidang entertainment. Diorang semua pandang I macam kecewa ni
Gimana
atuk
mereka
saya.
responnya when you
Sorry?
when you decided to do?
They were super supportive. They were really
kan?
supportive. I
Yeah.
rasa macam mungkin sebab diorang dah bosan di sekelilingi.
Semuanya ya.
Yes,
Like,
they were like, tak apalah biarlah yang ni jadi. Kita tengok it's an experiment for them. It was like a scientific like,
yeah.
you know? Yeah, and so but the difference in our story is that saya tak dapat degree.
Oh.
So saya tak belajar habis. Sebab saya rasa pada ketiga itu dia terlalu susah. Dan you bayangkan saya belajar dan bekerja dalam negara yang sama. Tak perlu pun naik kapal terbang ke apa ke. That's why I'm sitting here and I'm like, Afgan, that's crazy what you did, ya?
Mungkin kalau kamu kan you're an actress kan?
Yeah.
Jadi kamu it's a long hours gitu. Kamu
alasan.
Iya dong.
Alasan.
Ya kan,
sebenarnya
susah.
boleh je kalau I
Boleh
nak.
aja gitu.
Boleh je kalau I nak. Tapi time tu I macam, oh my god, penat.
Iya, because you know what? I just I just want to tell you, I just did a movie shoot this month.
Yeah.
It was a small role, only like 5 days of shooting, but capek banget.
Oh yeah.
It was so tiring.
Yeah, it
Maybe
is
that's
true.
why, right?
Terima kasih.
Saya
I
aja cuma
appreciate
5
it.
hari saya udah kayak oh my god, wah gila capek banget. Tapi ya,
Yeah.
that's why. Karena kalau buat aku pada saat itu kan, aku hanya perlu show 1 jam,
Yeah.
finish, and then I can rest. Besok 1 jam lagi finish lah gitu. Jadi waktu itu masih doable menurut aku gitu. I'm gonna defend you.
You're very kind. I appreciate it. Thank you. So if my mom is watching, sebab tu lah mom ya.
Yeah.
Sebab aku nak dengar music lain. Tapi apa-apa pun, it's still a really amazing thing. And I think it's
Thank
good
you.
that you did it. Sebab
I
at
appreciate
least kita hidup sekali kan. Kalau rezeki tu ada untuk belajar juga, ilmu tu takkan pernah tak terpakai.
Yeah.
Jadi okay lah tu.
Yeah, benar.
Kan? Yeah. Okay, so this is when you kind of were also writing and working on Live to Love, Love to Live.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, ada tak apa-apa macam influences daripada masa yang Afgan ada dekat Malaysia yang terpakai untuk album itu?
Influence mungkin gak terlalu. I was being influenced by the stuff that was going on at that time musically in the world gitu. Jadi and I think the crazy thing is awalnya saya memang nggak mau jadi penyanyi pop ballad ya, tapi album Live to Love itu album ketiga saya. Justru itu album yang paling pop di antara semua album saya.
Yeah.
Jadi my first album yang tadinya saya itu masuk rumah sakit sampai stres itu ternyata memang di album itu justru lebih banyak lagu jazznya.
Bandingkan dengan ini.
Tapi yang album ketiganya justru saya malah full on pop banget gitu.
Yeah.
I don't know. That time was kind of like a blur for me. I don't really remember much anything about the process of doing that album. I didn't write my songs at that time karena saya waktu itu juga belum ada confident ya untuk menulis lagu sendiri. So yeah, people send songs to me. Ada Jodoh Pasti Bertemu, and then ada Pesan Cinta Sabar, Untukmu Aku Bertahan. All of those songs that people still love up until today. Cuman I didn't really remember. Maybe because it was such a hectic
So much, yeah.
Time for me ya gitu. Jadi saya nggak terlalu ingat banyak. So it was a blur.
No, I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time juga, I don't know, mentally it was quite a heavy time juga for me. Yeah.
Is there a reason?
I think it's because all of the exposure lah, being in the limelight, I kind of at that time I was losing myself because it was too much. And I was so young, I didn't know what was going on. So I started to have, anxieties on stage. But at the time I didn't know what was, apa sih ini? Gitu, rasa ini apa ya? Turns out because saya banyak memendam lah. Waktu itu saya banyak memendam these feelings gitu. Of confusion dan kayak how to navigate in this, being this, singer that everybody knows. So that was, I think that's why it was a blur.
I always wanted to ask someone this question kan. Tapi untuk jadi seorang penyanyi ataupun penghibur dalam apa-apa sudut hiburan, mesti dia akan rasa macam ada ramai ataupun banyak expectation dekat atas you. Apalagi kalau audience you berjuta-juta, berpuluh-puluh juta, right? So what was that like to see that grow? And of course, like the behind the scenes of it on you as a person, mesti dirasa berat kan? Untuk nak memuaskan semua orang.
Berat. Because sometimes you lose yourself and you want to please everybody, but you cannot forget about what's good for you gitu. Jadi pada saat itu kayak I just want people to like me kayak gitu loh rasanya. But I didn't really have the love for myself at that time. So it was hard because saya harus perform on stage every night. At times where I didn't even feel like performing, but I have to keep the show must go on, and that's why I feel like mungkin banyak artists yang became depressed and lose their ways, and then banyak kan yang kayak gitu kan. Jadi at that time aku merasa seperti itu. I was lost. So but anyways, I just pushed it through. I didn't ask for help. I was just like, okay, let's just do it. I pushed it through, and then I finished my school, my study here. I went back to Jakarta, and then I did my 4th album, itu Sides di Jakarta, and that was the first time dimana saya mulai memberanikan diri untuk nulis, untuk write my own songs, and I think slowly itu yang membuat saya lebih punya outlet untuk release these emotions gitu yang saya punya di dalam saya gitu. And that was quite therapeutic at the time. So that helped me a lot juga to get through it. But it's a long journey. Akhirnya saya bisa mencapai titik sekarang. Saya bisa mulai. It's so different, man. I don't know, how old are you?
I just turned 30 last week.
30? Okay, yeah. 95.
95, yes.
95, okay.
Yeah.
I'm 89, so I'm like 6 years older than you.
But we were both 23 last year, so it's fine.
We were 23, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we don't know time. Time does not exist.
Time doesn't know us. I get you.
But sekarang kan dari umur sekarang kalau buat saya kedewasaan udah lebih dewasa, udah lebih matang.
Yeah.
Jadi perspektif saya tentang banyak hal berubah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm more in line right now.
Yeah.
Line with, mind, body, soul. Hopefully, inshallah, more line. Back then kan I didn't know. So yeah, I think songwriting really helped me, release all of my banyak emotions, all of my thoughts at that time. So Sides, and then after Sides, at first Sides didn't do really well karena people thought it was too heavy.
Yeah, paham.
Katanya musiknya terlalu berat, so it didn't do well. But the crazy thing is, after 8 years after that, it started to pick up on TikTok. And now Sides become one of my biggest albums. It's crazy. That's why 8 tahun, lama banget. But at that time, it was considered a flop lah. It was not a hit. It was people called it too heavy and stuff like that. And then I did my Decade album, Dekade.
Yeah.
It's a compilation of all my songs. Tapi beberapa lagu saya mulai remake gitu. Kayak lagu-lagu lama saya remake lagi to like a more updated version. And then that was my last full Indonesian album yang pernah saya rilis 2018.
Yeah.
And then I went straight to R&B and I do all these English R&B songs.
Yeah.
Because I feel like at that time, apalagi nih, maksud saya mesti nyanyi lagu ballad terus gitu kan. I love R&B and I wanna do R&B, like a full on R&B album. I wanna do it overseas. Saya mau bikin di Amerika. I wanna make my first global album gitu. So pada saat itu ada lagi jalan dibukakan Allah, ketemu sama label saya Empire di San Francisco, and they signed me lah as their artist. I think kayaknya salah satu dari beberapa, waktu itu kayak cuma saya di Indonesian artisnya ya, atau lupa lah pokoknya. So they said, okay, let's fly you out to San Francisco. Let's make an album there. So I did my Wallflower album di situ. That was my first full English album.
And it was so different.
It was so different, but I love that album.
Yeah.
I just love that album. So from that album, saya itu juga banyak membuka pintu buat saya karena saya jadi ada collaboration sama Jackson Wang waktu itu di situ, MIA, and I released it during the pandemic, and itu juga hal yang lucky ya karena mungkin di pandemic orang nggak keluar rumah, jadi mereka lebih attention mereka lebih ke YouTube, Spotify itu lebih banyak gitu. They didn't go outside and do work and stuff like that. Mereka semua di rumah. So it was well received. Tapi banyak yang shock juga gitu. Kayak fans saya yang kayak tadinya Afgan pakai kacamata nyanyi lagu ballad gitu, tiba-tiba buka kacamata.
Iya.
Tiba-tiba R&B banyak juga yang bingung gitu. Kenapa why kalau jadi kayak gini gitu. But I feel like at that time that's what I wanted to do, and I just did it. Alhamdulillah jadi membuka banyak pintu sih.
Yeah. I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna just try to get through as many as I can, right? Kita kembali pada sides for a second. I think macam evolusi seorang manusia lah, bukan saja seorang artis, untuk mencari diri sendiri tu adalah sesuatu yang semua orang kena hadap. Tapi dia lagi payah untuk seorang artis, dan dia paling payah untuk pemuzik, bandingkan dengan pelakon juga. Sebab pelakon kita mewarnai cerita yang bukan milik kita.
Yeah.
Penyanyi mewarnai cerita yang that's your life, that's your story. Tak boleh lari, tak boleh sorok. Kan? So in sides, you try to find yourself, dan untuk keluar daripada macam pop and kembali kepada sound that maybe you felt more like you tried to do something English, you tried to experiment. Selepas 3 album of meletakkan expectation orang dekat atas apa yang you nak, and then it didn't really do so well.
Yeah.
That how did you take it?
I took it hard. It was probably, I feel like that was like, for me personally, I was at my lowest point in my career, I think, during that time, 2016. I didn't really enjoy it anymore. I was disappointed by the reception of sides. I was expecting a lot more than that, and it didn't do well. And I started to have this udah bosan lah, mulai jenuh. Sudah mulai jenuh doing shows every night, udah mulai jenuh tuh. So at that time saya jadi kurang pelajaran yang saya ambil waktu itu, saya kurang appreciate apa yang saya punya gitu. But that's also the process that I have to go through. I have to go through that phase untuk sekarang saya benar-benar bisa appreciate apapun yang saya punya. Anything, apapun itu saya sekarang. For example, like my new song Kacamata, when I released it, saya udah gak ada ekspektasi apa-apa gitu. I didn't expect anything. I just let it go. Itu bukan milik saya lagi, ini udah milik orang-orang, semua orang. Ya. Kalau misalnya ini semua di luar kontrol saya, so I can only control what I can control, right? So jadi saya udah lepasin aja. And then it went viral kan. Jadi saya kayak okay, so you just have to let go. Pada saat itu mungkin saya mau control everything waktu album Size itu.
Yeah.
I want people to love this like that, and I try to control everything that out of my control gitu. Jadi pelajaran yang saya ambil itu sih pada saat itu. You just have to, let go and you did your best. Sometimes ada hal yang kamu nggak bisa kontrol. If it didn't do well, then you can do better next time.
Paham?
Yeah, but I took it very personally waktu itu. Saya macam ini mungkin orang udah bosan sama saya, atau mungkin saya kayaknya udah masanya sudah habis lah. So all these negative thoughts kan pasti ada ya waktu itu. Insecurity semua muncul. Tapi memang saya harus melalui itu sampai untuk bisa saya reach this point in my life where I feel more aligned, lebih calm. So yeah, buat semuanya yang lagi ngalamin insecurities atau banyak di sini yang kayak self sabotage gitu kan tiba-tiba muncul, mungkin ya memang harus dilewatin aja. Cause ada sesuatu yang pasti kamu bisa pelajari dari hal-hal yang berat itu gitu. I think every difficulties, every challenges that we face in life pasti ada gunanya lah gitu. Ada yang bisa kita pelajari dari itu. Yang bermanfaat gitu.
I setuju dengan benda tu, dan saya rasa macam something yang mungkin sejak kebelakangan ni dia sangat topical in my personal life as well. I've been thinking about it kan, adalah apabila kita cuba nak control sesuatu, kadang-kadang dia jadi secara tak sengaja dan secara subconscious mungkin yang kita tak nampak sangat, dia jadi macam tak fun, dan orang boleh rasa ke tak fun dia tu.
Iya. Jadi macam uptight gitu ya, kayak
I pun tak tahu macam mana nak bahasa kan.
Iya.
Dan
that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Di sekarang buat apa?
Dia kadang-kadang macam kita buat TikTok tu lah kan, lagilah kita tak kisah, lagilah benda tu boleh diterima orang, sebab orang boleh rasa kita punya fun.
Tadi kita baru bikin TikTok kan.
Yes.
Nggak usah effort.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Real aja gitu. People love that. Dia udah. Waktu side sih saya ngalamin itu ya, was pretty low. I felt like my career was over because all of my friends, mereka waktu itu kayak release banyak album ya, banyak musik gitu, dan everyone did so well gitu tuh. Pada saat itu saya ngerasa I feel left out, insecure. Tapi ya sekarang menurut saya itu ya itu fase hidup aja lah, kedewasaan yang waktu itu mungkin belum dewasa melihat hal kehidupan gitu kali ya.
Tapi Afgan, honestly thank you sebab menyuarakan benda ni. Sebab ada, I rasa cerita macam ni sebenarnya lebih penting untuk orang dengar. Dari segi macam apabila kita nampak seorang Afgan kan, mungkin ramai di luar sana yang tak pernah hidup sebagai you akan fikir macam bestnya nak jadi macam like one of the most successful artists dekat Indonesia yang ada berapa juta pendengar, mesti tak pernah rasa sakit hati, tak pernah rasa pahit sehari pun kan. Mungkin orang akan anggap sebegitu, tapi saya rasa macam sangat penting untuk orang di luar sana tahu yang dalam semua cerita, so that kalau mungkin diorang tengah hadap sesuatu yang pahit, diorang tahu yang benda tu adalah part of life, kena lalui benda tu,
harus laluin. And itu berlaku untuk semua orang, dari semua, even though you're a musician, if you see me mungkin on stage you feel like his life is so much fun. Ya sama aja hidup aku sama seperti kalian semua, there's ups and downs, pasti. And I'm glad that I can share that here with you. Because
thank you for sharing it.
I mean, like, my intention is for my Malaysian fans mungkin bisa lebih kenal dengan saya secara personal gitu, bukan hanya dari musiknya saja, tapi secara saya Afgan sebagai seorang human being gitu.
And I think another really interesting thing about your career is that you sangat berani. Walaupun you cakap you seorang pemalu, I rasa you sangat berani. Sebab I rasa macam kita selalu akan tersekat di antara dua pilihan, which is commercial and art. So mungkin biasanya lah apa yang dekat dengan hati kita, especially kalau dia macam melalui soul, right? Like so blues, jazz, all of these things, dia especially zaman sekarang kurang commercial. So mungkin akan ada macam concerns di sebalik tabir pasal jualan ke tak ni, macam mana kita nak, and then all of these conversations jadi macam tak best dalam sebuah karya. Tapi you berani juga untuk mengambil langkah yang mungkin pada ketika itu dipandang sebagai kurang commercial. tapi dia jujur. And
Karena
that's
itu
so
yang
important.
saya ngerasa pada saat itu I just follow my gut. I mean, throughout my career I just follow my gut.
Yeah.
That's it.
The
Just
gut's
follow
gotta be
my
strong.
instincts. Pada saat itu saya memang saya pengen banget sih punya album bahasa Inggris. I wanna expand my market waktu itu. Salah satu impian saya pengen punya global album. Ya udah, I just did it gitu tanpa berpikir panjang. I just do lah gitu. Dan waktu di sana kan juga I have to write songs with producers who are like already big, and there's pasti ada culture shock how they do stuff over there and how I do stuff di Indonesia. They're so different, but I didn't let that intimidate me. I learned and by watching them work. Jadi saya belajar banyak gitu. And we made really good music.
Yes.
Ended up, yeah.
Yeah, and you found the intersection between like art and commercial success, which is awesome.
Yeah, for the album Wallflower.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the fun time. I that's probably my favorite album so far.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, mungkin apa di antara pelajaran yang paling penting yang akan belajar sepanjang the recording of Wallflowers?
Mungkin yang paling penting yang saya pelajari adalah hal yang paling kamu takuti sebenarnya ketika kamu jalani itu tidak menakutkan. Itu hanya di pikiran kamu. Waktu itu kan saya harus pergi ke San Francisco, saya harus ke Atlanta. Di Atlanta saya hanya sendiri, gak ada tim yang nemenin saya, only me.
For how long?
For a month, yeah. So 2 weeks in SF and 2 weeks in Atlanta. So I was there by myself. And I have to go to these producers' houses and write songs with them. Itu kan kalau dipikir-pikir serem banget ya. Gimana will I get along with everybody? But it turns out waktu saya jalanin I had the best time. I had so much fun. Kayak I would do it again gitu. Jadi saya banyak teman baru. And then I learned, saya banyak belajar how they record and write songs di Amerika, di US gitu. That I can bring back to Indonesia and I can apply gitu. So itu yang pelajaran yang saya ambil sih dari Wallflower gitu. Kadang-kadang kita terlalu takut untuk mencoba. Kayak it's too scary. I don't know if I can survive by myself. But turns out enggak sih. Jadi just follow your gut and do it and trust your gut gitu kalau saya.
What is the secret untuk seorang artis dari segi macam nak memuaskan hati pendengar yang mungkin kalau kita macam ikut apa yang orang nak tu mungkin akan buat ballad untuk 6 album berturut-turut ataupun untuk ikut hati kita sendiri sebagai seorang artis. Mana satu yang lagi penting dan macam mana nak tahu keputusan mana yang betul pada satu ketika?
Just again menurut saya pada saat itu rasa jenuh itu you have to pay attention juga dengan rasa jenuh. Pada saat itu saya sudah mulai merasa jenuh dengan musik gitu. Dan waktu itu saya berpikir this is not good karena music is basically the love of my life. I love music. Kok saya bisa jenuh saya bisa bosan dengan musik. And then I start to ask myself, what do you want to do? And ya jawabannya adalah I wanna do R&B. Saya belum pernah punya album R&B. Saya suka banget R&B. Saya pengen buat album di luar. Saya pengen suasana baru, bertemu dengan orang baru. And that's what I did gitu. Jadi what was the question again? I forgot.
No, the question is like how do you know at which point in your career, and mungkin kalau you ada advice untuk orang di luar sana yang nak menjadi seorang penyanyi kan.
Yeah.
I'm sure at the beginning of everybody's career, kita ada idea kita nak jadi apa, kita nak keluarkan apa, tapi akan ada orang yang lebih tahu daripada kita yang mungkin akan nasihatkan kita untuk buat pop ataupun benda yang is a guaranteed success. Sebab orang suka dengan that thing. So how do you know when is the right time untuk explore your idea, when is the right time to give them the audience what they want? Macam mana nak kira benda tu?
Kayaknya from my experience, the first 3 albums was like a buat saya latihan ya, kayak preparation. I just follow apa yang label waktu itu suggest, which is sing ballads, sing pop songs. I did it and I feel like lama-lama saya bisa enjoy juga gitu. But mungkin buat saya pada saat itu saya udah ngerasa okay, I'm quite established. I think I can explore whatever I want to do in music. Dan mungkin ya buat musician di sana ya, first you have memang harus mulai dari bawah dulu, dari nol dulu gitu. Mungkin harus dengar dulu suggestions dari banyak orang. Just soak it all in, and then if it works, then berarti mereka benar. But if in the middle of the journey you guys wanted to explore something else, something new, do it. Karena memang we have to pay attention to what ourselves are telling us gitu. It's telling us. Waktu itu saya sudah jenuh, saya bilang, and I listen to that. Kalau misalnya saya nggak dengar, mungkin saya bisa fall out of love for music, which I don't want that to happen. Gitu. So you have to also pay attention apa yang kamu benar-benar mau pada saat itu gitu. But semuanya harus ada waktunya sih. Tapi kalau buat saya sekarang enggak sih, semua orang udah bisa. With streaming,
it's changed a lot.
At the time, you still buy CD at the record store, so you have to really listen dengan suggestion dari label. Cuman kalau sekarang menurut saya it's more free for everyone to express their music. Yeah, terserah mau bikin apa aja, put it on YouTube or streaming platforms, yeah. And then if people like it, then you get an audience.
Is it scarier though? Sebab sekarang saya rasa kalau you keluarkan music, you akan dapat tahu instantly apa yang orang rasa. Bandingkan dengan dulu, you kena tunggulah. Kan? Sebab di physical.
Yeah. Lebih memang lebih, it's more nerve-wracking ya. Lebih, yeah, it's scarier, but for me, I think I just sekarang sudah mulai inilah.
Tapi
detach kali ya,
yeah,
sama rasa itu ya. I'm not like holding on too tight to okay, I want people to like this, but I did my best.
Yeah.
Then just let it go.
Yeah.
It's out of my control. At least I gave it all. Yeah.
I did want to ask you about confidence as well. Especially sebagai seorang yang, well, you said you are pemalu from the start. How do you think you have grown in that? Do you feel like it's changed? Would you still say that you seorang yang mungkin agak pemalu ke benda tu dah berubah disebabkan your career?
Masih.
Yeah.
Saya masih pemalu banget. Cuma sekarang mungkin saya bisa lebih manage rasa malunya ya. Kalau dulu mungkin lebih I just want to hide in the corner gitu. Kalau sekarang ya, if I have to speak up, then I will speak up. Even though masih malu lah, masih pemalu. But I think for me, performing on stage was a big factor untuk saya bisa develop my character gitu. Kayak now I feel most alive when I'm on stage gitu.
What was the most important thing in your life yang berubah untuk menambahkan like your self-confidence and
beside music atau gimana? Atau
yeah, or like was it like a lesson that you learned or
for confidence, yeah.
Yeah.
For confidence. I think throughout the years, at first, when I first started, I mean the first 10 years of my career lah, I was so selalu macam kayak guarded gitu. Kayak I have this wall that I cannot share too much about the real me. I mean like teman-teman saya semua bilang kayak sekarang kamu lebih santai ya gitu. Aku lebih santai, mungkin aku lebih bisa embrace who I am as a person gitu. Pada saat dulu awal, saya ngerasa saya harus jadi orang yang berbeda gitu in public. Sekarang saya bisa lebih align gitu. I think and when I started to be more relaxed, saya ngerasa orang jadi lebih ngerasa relate juga dengan saya gitu. So, but it takes time sih. It takes time. You have to do the work. For me, I did, a lot of work, a lot of inner work. I did therapy. I did my spiritual work, my inner work ya. I started to, kemarin saya naik haji and all of that. It's part of the inner work that I do for me to be aligned, my mind,
inside
body,
and
and
your
soul.
outside, and cara yang you sampaikan
Yeah,
begitu.
and that energy is genuine and people can feel it gitu. Kalau dulu mungkin I have this wall, so people don't really know siapa Afgan gitu. Beside the music gitu. Oke, Afgan penyanyi kacamata, nyanyi lagu sedih, that's it. Mungkin sekarang saya lebih bisa open gitu, more relaxed. So yeah, itu. You have to do the work. You have to do the inner work. You have to do work. You have to work on yourself, and it's called work. So nggak bisa lazy terus kayak you have to work. Really be disciplined about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in your life yang you tahu macam something has changed dari segi macam this defensiveness and you dah jadi more open or more yourself? Does it hit you one day or is it macam setiap hari you mengambil satu langkah dalam setahun ni tengok balik, wow, jauh betul saya datang.
Saya mungkin lebih ke when I first started to work on myself, do therapy. Kan biasanya setiap minggu, I don't know, saya ini banyak yang ngomongin terapi gak ya buat but anyways, we can share. Terapi itu kayak setiap minggu kan pasti ada homeworknya gitu from my therapist. Jadi apa hal yang your trauma, how to overcome your trauma. I think all of that, the walls and me being so uptight, it was because of past trauma gitu. When I was in school and stuff like that, I was bullied and stuff like that, so I have really low self-esteem and I felt like I wasn't enough gitu. Jadi it's all sudah dari lama traumanya. And once I work on that, and then slowly I can become myself and be more comfortable gitu. And turns out it's okay to be your authentic self. And that's when I think everything started to change for the better. Yeah. Yeah.
That's such a relatable story.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, dude?
No,
I mean, like, you're more like relaxed and free spirited.
No. Tengok tim saya gelap. Tak. No. I love listening to your story because I feel like I can relate so much. I rasa macam sebagai seorang kreatif juga, saya jenis wow, this is like kind of scary to admit openly, right? Like, so you're so brave for doing this. But yeah, I'm such a control freak. Oh my god, the worst.
Control freak.
Yeah, worst because I judge myself so keras, dan saya sangat-sangat tahu apa like bila something tak okay ataupun something tak betul, saya tahu. So saya yakin yang orang di luar sana akan tahu, dan sebabkan saya agak harsh with myself, mungkin saya agak defensive sebab saya takut orang akan anggap saya ataupun orang akan layan saya dengan the harshness that I give myself.
Oh, okay.
And that's what self-love is about lah kan. Sebab kita kena belajar untuk jadi baik dengan kita.
Yeah.
Jadi kita akan percaya di luar sana orang akan terima kita dengan cara yang lembut juga.
Yeah.
Something like that. Does that make sense?
Benar, karena I feel like apa yang kita rasakan di dalam ini, it's gonna mengundang hal yang sama juga, inviting the same.
Ataupun mungkin dia akan describe macam mana kita terima apa yang orang cakap ataupun bagi dekat kita juga. Cara yang kita anggap intonasi mereka ataupun whatever, it's completely in here, right? Which I've been learning recently as well. So it's cool to see, sebab I rasa macam bila kita dah lebih jadi chill dengan diri kita sendiri, everything just flows so much better.
Yeah.
Is this an age thing?
I think so.
No!
Tapi banyak sih sekarang Gen Zs, they're more, I think they probably because mereka sudah exposed terhadap mental well-being, mental health gitu. Dulu waktu zaman aku, I feel so old bilangnya waktu zaman aku.
I just feel like I wish kalau I seorang Gen Z sekarang, I boleh belajar benda ni time I umur 21. Wow, unstoppable ya.
Iya kan?
Ya. Tapi tak apalah, kita belajar lambat. Tak apa, janji kita belajar. Kita tak lambat juga. Semalam kita baru 23, hari ni kita 24. Okay lagi.
Okay lah.
Banyak lagi masa. Okay. So kita dah sampai dekat retrospektif. Walaupun kita dah retrospektif sepanjang episod ni, saya rasa.
Ya benar. Sesuai ya.
Yeah, sangat sesuai. So I wanted to ask you, before we go into details about retrospective, nak tanya pasal Kacamata and kenapa dia menjadi pilihan untuk jadi single yang pertama yang keluar daripada album ini.
Okay, karena first retrospective adalah album full Indonesia yang saya rilis setelah 7 tahun.
Yeah,
7
crazy.
tahun lamanya. Jadi, so I feel like, okay, if I want to do this, I want to do it right. Gitu. Dan for the last 4 years, saya sudah lepas kacamata. So I did my LASIK surgery.
Yes.
So, Afgan, gak ada lagi Afgan berkacamata. So, but I think people miss that because they grew up watching
with
Afgan kacamata, nyanyi lagu ballad. So it's becomes a big part in my fans' life gitu. Jadi sebanyak yang komen di Instagram kayak, okay, we miss you wearing glasses and stuff like that. So that's the reason why we made a song called Kacamata as a gimmick that, okay, Afgan is back doing pop songs and also
with the kacamata back on.
Come with datang kacamata lagi gitu. So I think it's a cute inilah gimmick for opening the album gitu. And the song is really good juga. I love the song. It's really catchy and dia ada R&B-nya tapi still commercial pop tapi tetap R&B. So I like to mix those two in the song. It's so catchy. And that's why we pick Kacamata lah. And then people seem to love it. Alhamdulillah.
It's a good song.
Alhamdulillah.
And yang saya rasa sangat menarik adalah macam daripada, if you think about it, like maybe 14, 15 years ago. From 17 years ago, 14, 15 years ago, your first 3 albums, di mana you rasa macam, alamak betul ke saya nak kena keluarkan lagu pop, dia sangat jauh daripada diri sendiri. Apa yang berubah untuk menjadikan this album, right, retrospective? It's a similar genre daripada permulaannya, tapi kali ni I can even feel when I talk to you, dia sangat natural dan sangat macam real and authentically who you are. What changed?
I think it's because I have a lot to say. I mean, like, this album I basically co-wrote. Saya tulis lagunya semua satu album. 9 lagu lah dari 10 lagu saya tulis. But with the help of, ada Petra Siombing, ada Kamga, ada Iqbal, dan Bilal, dan lain-lain. But I became more comfortable on sharing my stories aja gitu. So mungkin kenapa itu terasa real and authentic karena we started every songwriting dengan berbual apa di sini ngomongnya borak
sembang.
Sembang ya. So kita berborak sebelum masuk studio tuh we just talk for 2 hours about life, about anything random. And then from that conversation, then we made that into a song. That's why it feels personal gitu. You can feel it because it starts from just life. We just talk about life, and I share a lot of my journey in this album.
Are you nervous untuk macam orang dapat tahu lebih pasal you ataupun untuk orang lebih kenali the person di sebalik all of the defenses and everything for so many years?
No, actually I'm excited.
That's good.
I'm excited, yeah. Aku excited karena I just can't wait to sing it to people, and it's Afgan pop Afgan, but I feel like kita berhasil untuk mengemasnya dengan dengan nuansa yang baru gitu, fresh. So I'm excited because I think for me, I think this is the best work that I've done in my career so far in terms of albums. Yeah. So I believe in the songs, and the second single we're gonna shoot the video this week.
Oh, already?
Yeah, and it's a ballad, but it has like a retro 70s vibe to it.
Nice.
Which I can't wait. So yeah, I'm excited. Actually, I'm excited.
Yeah, you seem excited, which is so nice to see.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to hear it.
Oh, I'm so excited too.
Shalma's already heard 3 songs.
She heard already?
Yeah. She was like, I was
lucky.
I was in her place, and she's like, can you play me some of your new songs? And I played her 3 songs.
Okay, be careful what you wish for. Selepas kita dah habis shooting dekat sini, I'm gonna do the same thing. It's like, Okay. So there's this cool thing about the way that you're releasing these songs, kan? Is that you're coming out with a single every day. You're releasing one every day. Mulai daripada hari ini.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a reason?
I think it's my team's idea.
Okay.
So we kind of like release previews of every songs. So jadi satu hari satu lagu, satu hari satu lagu.
Just a preview.
Preview 1 menit. 1 menit saja. 1 menit saja. So you can have a teaser of like how the album is going to sound like gitu. Jadi harapannya sih kita jadi, kalau buat saya sih harapannya mungkin orang jadi lebih curious. Okay, ini kita cuma dengar 1 menit, we want to hear the full songs. It's just like something to, it's like a fire starter for the album. And I feel like these days we need to be more creative in the way we promote.
Yeah,
we cannot do it the same thing at the same over and over again. We have to, constantly be more innovative in terms of how to, promote the song.
Yeah.
And I feel like, that's something I've never done before, to release previews of the songs. Biasanya saya lebih kayak albumnya rilis, lagu itu hanya bisa didengar waktu album itu rilis.
Iya, kalau tadi jadi spoiler.
Iya, saya nggak mau ada spoiler. No. But sekarang saya ngerasa, mungkin bolehlah kasih sedikit teaser buat fans biar mereka penasaran. Nanti once the album drops, hopefully semua udah punya, saya suka yang ini, saya suka yang ini gitu. They have it.
Dan tak sabar untuk dengar the
full version, gitu.
Which is awesome. Tapi untuk orang yang tengah dengar podcast ini, korang untung lah sebab kita shooting ni last week. So preview semua korang dah dengar dah.
Sudah dengar.
Probably already. Because we're shooting 1 week ahead of our publishing. Tapi so when you look back at your career now dengan retrospective, selepas 17 tahun of working as a singer, what are maybe mungkin di antara pelajaran yang paling besar yang Afgan pernah hadap, yang Afgan membawa kepada this specific album that makes it different ataupun special daripada yang sebelum ni?
Kayaknya pelajaran paling terbesar itu dari kehidupan ya.
Yeah.
I think your personal journey as a person itu adalah pelajaran yang paling berharga gitu. Memang I learn a lot throughout my music, career. I learn banyak pastinya gitu. Tapi yang paling shape you as a person adalah your own personal journey. Dan buat saya, I feel like as an artist, the more we are connected to ourselves and the more we learn from our life lessons, kita jadi artis yang lebih baik gitu. We can write better songs, we can perform better, we can do it, from the heart because you're connected gitu. Jadi buat saya pelajaran yang paling besar adalah itu. Semua pelajaran kehidupan, all the ups and downs in life, you have to really go through it gitu. And then just apply it to your art. Yeah.
Can I ask a weird question?
Yeah.
Dalam Afgan punya life, berapa peratus is kerja and berapa peratus is
percentage
life? Yeah.
Wow. Saya tadinya selalu kayak merasa bahwa since saya kan belum berkeluarga kan, saya masih belum settle down, belum menikah. Jadi selalu merasa kayak all I have is my work gitu kan.
Iya.
Jadi saya selalu fokus di kerja aja gitu. sampai saya nggak pay attention dengan hidup saya, my personal life. Tapi buat saya sekarang I have to balance it out lah. You have to have time for yourself, and then when you work, itu bukan segalanya gitu. I mean like, your work doesn't define you as a person gitu. When you work, you have to be able to differentiate. Okay, this is work. I'm just gonna do my best, tapi I'm not gonna take anything personally. I try gitu. Jadi everything happens. Ada yang tidak sesuai apa, lebih bisa menerima, because you know that that's just part of who you are. It's not who you are. It's just part of who you are. Ada lagi part yang lain. I'm a mom's son, my dad's son, and I'm, you know, my nieces and nephews' uncle. I'm a brother, stuff like that. I'm a best friend. Jadi banyak sekali part. So I feel like you don't have to hyper focus on your work. But once kamu lagi kerja ya, you give 100%.
Yeah.
Itu sih buat saya. So balance lah.
Yeah.
Balance.
Dia susah kan?
Susah
gila.
Saya juga baru merasa itu tahun ini.
Sama
When
lah
I was
timeline dengan saya sama.
Aku tahun 2025 ini saya baru merasa, baru menyadari hal itu. Tadinya kerja aja. My life is like 100% soal kerja aja.
I can relate to you so much. Sama juga.
Sama juga ya. Tapi sekarang gimana?
Sekarang dia dah start berubah juga. Something yang pelik yang saya rasa saya baru je belajar, dan saya rasa mungkin saya bodoh. Saya baru je belajar 2025, saya sangat bodoh.
Saya lebih bodoh lagi. Saya baru belajar umur 36.
Tak apa, okay, janji kita belajar sebelum dah terlambat lah kan. Janji kita belajar sudah okey lah tu. Tapi benda yang saya baru belajar adalah dulu, macam mungkin like 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, saya ingat lagi banyak saya kerja, lagi hebat lah saya punya kerja. So saya rasa macam okay, kehidupan saya 100% adalah kerja tu tak cukup. Dia kena jadi 150%. Lepas tu kerja saya akan lagi bagus, dan saya akan jadi seorang anak seni yang lagi hebat. Oh my god, kelaut. I jadi stres, I jadi sangat sensitif dengan pendapat orang, sebab itu adalah segalanya. Jadi kalau orang tak suka, tak boleh terima, wow,
you take it personally.
Sangat. Sebab I tak ada benda lain. I didn't have anything else, right? Oh, tahun ni I celebrated my birthday. Buat kali pertama saya tak bekerja.
Oh yeah?
Takkan? Do you know, and like benda tu macam sejenis beban yang dah hilang. And I feel like it so can relate to your story. Sebab I feel like it's the similar thing for you. Yeah. Crazy ya? Pelik. Macam terbalik pula dengan apa yang kita expect.
I think kita punya kacamata baru melihat.
Yes, ataupun betul lah kan?
Melihat hidup ya. Oh bagus ya.
Baru 4K.
Kacamata baru.
Mungkin sepanjang ni saya mungkin sedikit rabun kot.
Mungkin
dah tiba masanya untuk kacamata tu.
Sudah pakai kacamata baru kamu.
Baiklah, I will. So what's next for you, Afgan?
What's next is belibet tadi, sorry.
Tak apa,
so what's next is saya akan bikin showcase di sini.
Yes.
Tanggal 5 Desember.
5 Desember.
Di ZKL. It's called Retrospective Showcase. Itu adalah album launch saya lah di Malaysia, and it will be the first time me singing all of my new songs from my new album live.
Dekat Malaysia?
Di mana-mana, di Jakarta pun belum. So Malaysia, you got the premiere lah, the premiere of, you know, me performing all of this new song live. So I'm excited about it, but also I'm gonna sing also the hits yang pasti orang sudah rindu dan sudah sangat suka. I'm gonna sing all the hits pastinya juga. So make sure you come 5th of December, the ZEP, and the vibe is gonna be very chill, very intimate. I wanted to make it feel like I'm jamming with my friends in the living room. So it's not gonna be like gimana ya, biasanya kan mungkin kayak huge LED stuff like
formal.
That. Yeah, but this time I want to make it more informal and conversational, so I can talk about the song. So yeah.
Oh, itu sangat cool. If you guys boleh bayangkan macam mana you cipta lagu tu, which is a long conversation, and then you went in and you recorded the song. Sekarang bila you nak sampaikan lagu tu dekat peminat juga, dia jadi a conversation juga.
Yeah.
Which is very cool, eh?
That's nice, like a full circle.
Yeah, for you.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about it
It's
like that.
very cool. It's
Yeah.
very cool. It's
Yeah.
very cool. All the best for retrospective. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Saya tak sabar nak dengar selepas kita punya kamera dah cut, saya akan cuba untuk beli Afghan untuk bagi saya preview juga.
Yes.
Walaupun beberapa hari sebelum kita tengoklah macam mana sama ada saya berjaya ke tidak. Soalan kan for your future in terms of apa yang you boleh nampak sekarang, walaupun benda tu of course outside of our control. In terms of music yang you akan cipta selepas ini, will there be more English albums, more bahasa, campur-campur ke ikut bila you dah sampai nanti you akan tahu?
Ya, aku belum tahu lagi.
Ya, susah nak predict kan?
Aku belum kepikiran apa-apa.
Berlakon lagi?
Yeah, I would love to do it.
Ya.
Kayaknya aku suka deh. I like acting, but not the leading role lah.
Why?
Small role saja boleh. Because it's long hours.
Ya, betul tu.
I don't know how you do it.
Dia kira macam you kena pasang otak macam boot camp, you know. So I'm just like, okay, 3 months. Bye everybody.
Kamu shooting 3 months?
Yeah, every day.
Shooting 3 months?
Every day.
Yang action movie tu, yang the latest one yang you put out. Yeah.
Full day, every day. Oh, tapi action movie tu taklah saya meninggal. Okay.
Meninggal maksudnya gimana?
Ada satu yang saya meninggal. Ada satu saya hidup sampai habis. Means iyalah saya shooting
Every day.
Every day. Yelah, betul lah kan.
Saya punya respect banget sama orang perfilman karena mereka harus sabar, mereka harus, ya kan?
Iya juga. Saya minat, tapi saya juga tak ada bakat menyanyi. Jadi gabungan di antara dua sebab itu.
Jadi kalau misalnya ada bakat menyanyi, jadi penyanyi aja.
Oh, kalau saya ada bakat menyanyi, saya boleh nyanyi. Saya teringin sangat nak jadi pop star, tapi kena sedar diri juga. Kalau tak malu kita.
But I have huge respect for you guys.
Thank you.
Seriously, I don't know how you do it. Aku 5 hari aja udah gak bisa, capek.
Mana tahu satu hari nanti you akan jadi director sekali lagi. Saya akan berlakon dengan you as a director. Would you do it?
Maybe directing a music video, yes.
Music video.
I would love to do it one day. Yes, I want to do it. Maybe on this album.
Actually, I think you should.
I think I should. Yeah.
Do you know what would be so legendary? Kalau you boleh jumpa balik dengan you punya album daripada the first karaoke when you were scouted for the first time, and you boleh macam sample some of that music for your 2 decades. That would be so sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aku gak pernah
Yeah,
fikir.
so it's a record your own album thing kan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 decades.
So I can use the voice that
Yes.
my
duet with
17-year-old self voice. That's brilliant.
It's good,
That's
right?
brilliant. Okay, I'm gonna use that. Okay, don't charge me.
No, I won't charge
Don't
you.
charge,
I won't charge you. Free.
Thank you, lo.
No,
Terima
100%
kasih.
you have to. Okay, sebelum kita habiskan episode kita hari ni, we have a rapid fire.
Okay.
So these are just like soalan paling panas lah. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, playlist daripada which artist are you secretly obsessed with right now? Or like one song that's your secret guilty pleasure right now? I tak tahu reaction tu. What reaction is that?
Guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. It doesn't have to be a good song. Dia boleh jadi lagu apa-apa pun.
But if I say this, then people are gonna notice that I'm really old. No,
It's
not
fine.
old. Do you know that all that she wants is another baby.
She's gone tomorrow. Yeah.
All that she wants. Ace of Base. Is another baby.
That's a good song. Itu tak lama sangat.
Lama dong.
Lama.
Come on. That was like 94. It was released in 90.
No. Then how do I know it? I was born in 95. Tak mungkin.
Because probably you play the radio.
It was
or,
94?
Yeah. Or maybe lagi ada ini in a club or anything.
Those are a good songs. And then another one from that time is the Lemon Tree song.
Lemon Tree?
Under the Lemon Tree. You know? I wonder why. There's another blue sky and all that I can see.
So you can sing.
No lah.
You should try singing lah.
Only if I do it with you.
Huh? You can sing
Kesian
loh.
dia. Kesian dia. Kita jangan buat peminat you macam tu. Itu tak sampai hati Afgan.
Bagus suaranya.
Tak apa, nanti kita pergi karaoke.
Okay.
Tapi kena pergi balik dekat yang pertama
Ya,
tu.
yang pertama itu.
Yang you pernah pergi.
Yeah.
Lelai tak payahlah duduk kat set 30 hari pertama. Okay, kita sambung. Okay, satu perkara yang mungkin fans you akan terkejut kalau diorang dapat tahu.
I sleep eat. Yeah. still every day.
Sorry, what?
Mm.
What does that mean?
So setiap saya tidur, saya selalu terbangun, and then saya makan. Iya, tapi half asleep gitu.
Oh, so do you know?
I know, at first I know because waktu saya bangun banyak kayak makanan di lantai. Iya. So
Wow, that's kind of awesome.
aku punya itu sih. Aku cek kayaknya hampir nggak ada yang. Tapi nggak tahu ya. Mungkin if you guys ada yang sleep eat juga boleh komen nggak? Jadi I don't feel alone.
I definitely think there's a community out there. Tapi I rasa
Yeah.
macam
The sleep eating community.
sleep eating community mungkin ada ramai sleep eating community di luar sana yang sedar, yang macam kurang sleep lebih eating, you know what I mean? Macam just bangun tidur pergi makan.
Tapi ini saya lagi
More like
tidur.
You
During
tidur.
sleeping.
That's
Makanya sekarang my assistant biasanya dia udah tahu. Jadi sebelum saya tidur dia ada taruh buah, dan ada roti,
the healthy option.
ya ada roti, ada
Wah.
snacks.
Okay.
So I can just if I wake up like.
Oh, so soalan seterusnya, are you a foodie?
I'm like a comfort foodie.
Okay, number one comfort food of all time.
Nasi goreng.
Nasi goreng.
No, like yeah.
What type of nasi goreng? Nasi goreng yang macam mana?
Nasi goreng yang merah yang pakai sambal.
Oh, like fire nasi goreng.
Nasi goreng merah pakai sambal, pakai telur diaduk. Biasanya mamaku selalu pakai sausage.
Yeah.
Dipotong-potong, dicarum.
Oh, nasi goreng is good. Nasi goreng is good. Honestly, kehidupan kita
Aduh,
susah
enak
kalau
banget,
kita datang.
mau lagi sekarang.
Ya, Southeast Asia sebab makanan kita terlalu best.
Best. Susah untuk diet di sini.
Ya, tak boleh.
Kamu harus pindah ke US kayaknya.
Dekat sini lah tempat paling sesuai untuk sleep eat sekali lah. Makanan kita sangat best. Okay. Next one. Okay, app yang paling berguna dekat your phone. App yang tak bukan Apple punya standard apps ataupun Google Play punya standard apps. Apps yang luar biasa.
Oh gitu, yang luar biasa.
Yang macam bukan phone ataupun bukan message ataupun WhatsApp.
Yang paling berguna ya.
Ya.
Muslim Pro. Ya.
Take note ya. Di luar
Karena
sana.
kan kalau mau sholat mau cari kiblat.
Iya.
Biasanya dia selalu ingatkan. Oh, dari alarmnya kalau mau sholat. Dan ada ini bisa baca Quran. Kayak gitu-gitulah.
Jawapan yang sangat responsible. Ini saya tengah fikir Goodreads. Saya tengah fikir
Aku Muslim Pro. Ya, gitu.
Okay, that's good. Okay. If you could time travel to any concert dalam sejarah, mana satu you akan pergi?
Oh ya, Michael Jackson lah. Michael Jackson.
Dah agak dah.
Iya, I will time travel
To see any of his concerts kan?
Iya,
Yeah, oh so good.
Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston yang dia lagi nyanyi. Oh, say can you see?
The anthem.
That was saya pengen ada di situ, pengen lihat.
Yeah.
Saya nangis deh. Bagus banget ya.
Crazy kan? Yeah.
Those two lah.
Okay, and the last question. Nasihat yang paling penting yang Afgan pernah dapat dalam your life and siapa yang bagi?
Berat ya. Nasihat paling penting adalah hidup itu gak usah terlalu serius. She just told me that yesterday.
Tapi betul.
Yeah. Because I was obsessing about apa ya kemarin ya? Oh, I was focusing on caption Instagram. Karena hurufnya ada yang salah spelling atau gimana, but yeah.
Saya ada satu rahsia ni yang korang rahsiakan. So saya dah ChatGPT.
I love ChatGPT.
I love ChatGPT. Letak je di situ dia akan bagi macam 10 option caption.
Yeah.
Dia dah menyenangkan kehidupan saya.
Yeah. Tapi ini bukan captionnya, tapi yang di TikTok kadang ini TikTok ya. Kadang-kadang kita tulis di TikToknya gitu loh, di fotonya.
Yeah.
And we put it there. We cannot edit kan? Kita gak bisa edit tulisannya.
Bisa?
Bisa emang ya? Hah? Bisa?
Boleh? Bisa?
Bisa? Oh iya, oh yes.
Itu
Different stories, different. Jadi
different. Benda yang tak boleh edit.
Iya, gak boleh edit.
Oh, that's hard.
Jadi videonya udah aku post, cuman di situ aku awalnya ngomongnya aku, and then aku ngomong gue, and then aku gue, so I feel like kenapa nggak aku aja?
So
I was obsessing about it. Why? And she was like, udahlah, hidupnya nggak usah serius gitu. Santai aja. And I was like, bener sih. Aku terlalu.
It's like honestly untuk ada macam that type of attention to detail. It's a superpower and also a curse.
A curse, yeah.
Yeah, it's a curse sebab dia akan menghantui.
Gak bisa tidur aku.
Iya, faham.
Iya.
Faham.
Kepikiran langsung. Yeah.
2026.
Yeah.
New Year's resolution to let go benda-benda kecil. Don't sweat the small stuff, orang kata.
Yeah.
Kan?
Yes. Detach. Yeah.
Tapi kita baru 24, kita masih belajar, jadilah.
Kita nggak tahu apa itu detach. I
Tak
just
pernah
finished my studies lah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
I'm so attached to everything.
I'm so attached to everything.
Tapi yang penting, korang semua di luar sana jangan lupa untuk attach dengan Afghan Retrospective Showcase at the ZKL. Happening on the 5th December.
Love it.
Ya, so kita akan habis kita punya tahun 2025 dengan satu showcase yang cukup beristimewa, yang satu full circle untuk Afghan.
Yeah.
Dan untuk korang di luar sana, walaupun kita dah bincang banyak tadi pasal kita punya saya dah imagine diri sendiri jadi penyanyi dah pasal Afghan punya retrospective snippets yang dah keluar. You can go and stream it already, all of the snippets yang sudah pun keluar sekarang, and make sure to get your tickets for the showcase, okay?
Thank you.
Dan kepada Afghan, thank you so much meluangkan masa bersama kami.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy talking to you. It's
Me
fun.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. I relate so much to your story dan saya sangat yakin orang di luar sana pun akan rasa benda yang sama.
InsyaAllah. Amin.
Sebelum kita habis episod kita untuk minggu ni, is there anything you'd like to say untuk peminat kat luar sana?
Well, I just want to say, my Malaysian fans, mereka kayak one of the best people I've ever met. They're so supportive. So I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful that I get to do what I do this long and you still are so supportive. So insyaAllah saya akan selalu berikan yang terbaik untuk semua peminat di Malaysia. Setiap performance, setiap album, setiap lagu saya semoga bisa terus memberikan impact yang baik untuk hidup semua peminat saya gitu. So I love you guys so much.
Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you
Dan
so much for having
untuk
me.
you guys semua kat luar sana, we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Dan kita akan jumpa minggu depan, same time, same place. Go stream retrospective. Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.